Happy April Fools. I'm Sylvester Footings.
I'm Tobias Lampton this time.
This one's gonna be a fun one.
Yeah. Oh, never mind. Okay, I hate these glasses. I can't see very well. Okay.
I can see without them.
Yeah. I'm not taking back my sweatshirt right now though, so I'll just keep it.
Good, because I wasn't planning on giving it back. I'm wearing a t-shirt. It's not as warm as it usually is. I don't know how you do it. How?
Hey, I'm just not used to wearing three-piece suits all the time.
Yeah, I guess I got pretty used to it.
Yep, I get it.
Cold without it.
All right, guys.
Anyways.
Yeah, should we start?
Yeah.
Let's start. All right. Let's start. All right, so welcome back to Bursting Bookshelves, Season 1, Episode 7. This one's called Moving the Pawns. The Count of Monte Cristo is moving the pawns.
Chess.
Yeah, like chess. It's like 4D chess. He's just doing everything behind the scenes, working everything out to his own advantage, at least so he thinks. All right, so last time we dropped off at chapter, that is, 47. Mm-hmm. And at this point, the Count had met representatives of all of his three enemies' families. He'd met Fernand already. He'd met Danglars, but he had not met Villefort. He had met his wife, Villefort's wife, but he had not met Villefort. Yeah. And so now, in chapter 48...
he meets her.
Him.
Oh, him. Right.
Yeah. Monsieur Villefort goes to see the Count, which, at least in the eyes of Villefort and the popular community, is a great honor accorded to Monte Cristo. So, Villefort's a pretty big head honcho sort of guy.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty important. So there's a contest of wills between the two men with a lot of... The Count makes a few vicious jabs at the pomp and circumstance of Villefort's profession in law. They move on to a bit of philosophy, where the Count claims to be an agent of Providence. And he says that he acquired this position from Satan. And I thought I could not pass up the opportunity to read that passage to you guys. Yeah. So we're going to listen to it.
Have me read it.
Yeah, he's going to read it.
Well, he would read it, but I'm him, so now I'm reading it. Ha-ha. Let's see. Paragraph 4. Like every other man, at least once in his life, I too have been carried up by Satan to the highest mountain on earth. Once there, he showed me the world. And as he did to Christ, said to me, "Now, son of man, what do you want if you are to worship me?" So I thought a long time, because, in reality, a terrible ambition had been long devouring my soul. Then I answered him, "Listen, I have always heard speak of Providence, yet I have never seen her, or anything that resembles her, which makes me think that she does not exist. I want to be Providence, because the thing that I know, which is finest, greatest, and most sublime in the world, is to reward and to punish." But Satan bowed his head and sighed. "You are wrong," he said. "Providence does exist, but you cannot see her, because, as the daughter of God, she is invisible, like her father. You have seen nothing that resembles her, because she proceeds by hidden means, and walks down dark paths. All that I can do for you is make you one of the agents of this Providence." The deal was concluded. I shall perhaps lose my soul, Monte Cristo continued, but what matter? If the deal had to be struck, again, I should do it. And then Villefort stares at him, awestruck, like, what? Brett.
So this is obviously an allusion to a story in the Bible where Satan takes Jesus up onto a mountain and then tempts him, and Jesus comes through all the temptations clean. He doesn't sin. He doesn't give in to Satan's temptation. But Monte Cristo, he's like, "Oh boy, sign me up. I'll worship the devil."
Yeah.
So he's
not a good thing.
Yeah, that's not a
Don't
good
do
thing.
it at home.
So he is essentially selling himself to the devil at this point, selling his soul so that he has these powers on earth. And this probably didn't actually happen. This is not that kind of book where stuff like that happens. But Monte Cristo's kind of saying that he thinks that he is an agent of God, an agent of Providence. And that's what he's going to be doing now.
Yeah.
Providencing.
But, Providence is supposed to be, a good thing. But I'm pretty sure on this part of his face, he's more onto the bad part,
Yeah, Providence deals out... God deals out judgment as well as mercy.
Yeah.
But anyway. So yeah, he sold his soul to the devil for the privilege of becoming an agent of Providence. So the Count and Villefort, who is more and more amazed as the conversation goes forward, they discuss a few of the obstacles that might prevent the Count from fulfilling his missions, the missions that he wants to fulfill on Earth, such as death or paralysis. So he might die, and then he won't be on Earth anymore, so he won't be able to deal out justice
anymore.
He wanted to. Yeah.
Agent of Providence.
or
Much
paralysis.
to his chagrin.
Yeah, much to his chagrin. So paralysis, he might have a stroke or something and be paralyzed. And Villefort uses this as a ramp to get into his father, Noirtier, who's important earlier in the story. But this Noirtier is now paralyzed. And he can't move at all. He can just blink his eyes. And he's still good cognitively, but he's completely paralyzed.
I remember feeling bad for him.
Yeah, what a tough
Poor
spot.
guy. Completely paralyzed. He can't even talk either. He's just like literally completely paralyzed.
He can just use his eyes.
Yeah.
So Villefort invites the Count to visit his family, to visit him at his house, essentially, and then he leaves. So that's the end of chapter 48, or the notes that I have on chapter 48, that is. So on to chapter 49. So the Count visits a separate set of apartments in his house, where a young Greek woman, you remember her?
Yeah.
Named Ide, who he bought in the Orient, lives. Orient.
That's how you pronounce it.
Ide, yeah.
I was not pronouncing that right. I was pronouncing it
neither
more
was
like
I
heyday.
until I was told differently. Heyday. Anyway.
Literally.
So he tells her that as per French law, she is no longer his slave, and that she is free to do as she wishes, because he bought her as a slave. But he tells her that she is free. She can do what she wants. She says that she loves him, and that she has no reason to leave him. The relationship between them... No, it's not awkward. It's actually a very, very nice scene. The relationship between them seems to be like half romantic, half father-daughter. So there's a real connection and a real relationship and love there, but it's kind of hard to lay my finger on exactly what kind of relationship, because it's kind of romantic, but also kind of like paternal.
Yeah.
So, but whatever else it is, it's clear that the Count loves Ide very much and draws strength from seeing her. He asks if she is happy living where she is. She says that she is happy as long as he visits her. So she is completely content as long as she has him. So the Count leaves and goes to see Julie and Emmanuel Arbeau and Maximilien Morel. Julie and Emmanuel are married.
Yeah.
And Julie and Maximilien are the son and daughter of Monsieur Morel.
Wait, she took her husband's first name and made it her middle name?
No, that's a typo.
Oh, I see. Okay. Sorry.
So that is the end of chapter 49. We're on to chapter 50.
Sorry about that.
The Count goes to visit the Arbeaus and Maximilien Morel. So Julie and Maximilien are the children of Monsieur Morel, Dante's old employer, Monte Cristo's old employer. So the Count finds their house a place of peaceful happiness. While he is there, they, especially Julie, begin to wax eloquent about their fortunes, at the hands of the mysterious Englishman who we have heard so much about already.
Oh, yeah. Right.
So Julie seems to recognize the Count's voice, so he hastily changes the subject, suggesting that a certain fictitious Lord Wilmore might have done it. Then Maximilien says that their father, at his last, said that he believed that it was Edmond Dantes, returned from the dead, who had saved them, because they all thought he was dead. That's what the prison thought.
Obviously. I mean, if you're gone for 14 years.
Yeah, everyone thought he was dead.
Yeah.
So the Count is completely overcome at this point, and he hastily leaves, leaving an odd but overall good impression behind him. So he basically comes, visits, bursts into tears, and leaves, is pretty much kind of what
They're all
happens.
like, well, that guy was interesting.
Yeah. So that's chapter 50. Oh, and by the way, Lord Wilmore, that's another alias. Add it to the list.
Oh, right. Adding to the list.
All right. Actually, I already have a list. I'll read it at the end. So at chapter 51, there is a new plot line. And guess what? It's a romance.
Yes.
It's a secret romance between Maximilien Morel and Valentine Villefort. And this, for anyone who's been paying close attention, should be mind-blowing, because the Morels and the Villeforts have always been in separate camps in the Count's mind, because the Morels are good people who he's trying to help and be nice to, and the Villeforts are bad people who he's trying to destroy. So what happens when a person he loves, Maximilien Morel, falls in love with the daughter of a person he hates?
He has to...
So he's going to try to take down Villefort.
Yeah.
But what if he ends up hurting Maximilien?
That's a good one. I'm going to write that down so we can talk about that.
This is something we have to pay attention to, because this is important. So, Valentine Villefort is not like her father. She's a good character, pretty much from the start. She's alone in her house. Her father, ignores her, pretty much. Her stepmother, this would not be Mademoiselle de Saint-Méran. This would be Villefort's second wife.
Yeah.
Her stepmother hates her, and her mother is dead. So her stepmother is jealous of her and hates her because of her half-brother Edward's sake, for his sake, because she inherits way more money than him. Because of various reasons, she gets stuff from her maternal grandparents and from her grandfather, Noirtier. Noirtier is inheriting her. It's fair to say that he's doing that at this point.
What?
He's giving her all his money.
Oh, I see. Inheriting her. I was like, what does that mean?
I used that wrong. Inheriting her.
Man, I am good at this.
Yeah, calling me out.
Sorry. Not what I meant to do at all.
So she says that her only friend in her house is her paralyzed grandfather, Monsieur Noirtier. They have a way of communicating, and there's a very special relationship between them. But he can't talk, and he can't move, so it's kind of limited. So it's clear that Maximilian loves her with a passion, and cannot stand to see her betrothed to Franz d'Épinay.
Oh
yeah. So we've seen Franz already. He's kind of a nice guy. He's a nice guy.
Yeah.
But Valentine doesn't like him. She doesn't want to marry him. She wants to marry Maximilian.
Yeah, I remember that.
And her father, Monsieur Villefort, wants her to marry Franz d'Épinay. So they talk to each other. They're talking to each other on opposite sides of an old unused gate on the Villefort property. So they can't touch each other. They can't see each other. They just have to whisper through a gate. So it's a pretty not a good deal for anybody at this point.
Well, they could have seen each other, couldn't they?
Well, they could kind of see each other, but not very well.
Like
through the gate. So Valentine, after this discussion, she has to leave because a visitor, the Count of Monte Cristo, has just arrived. Right. So he's just everywhere all the time in all the places.
Dude, literally.
Gaining information and moving the pawns. Okay.
Even as like 5 different people, too.
Yeah, even as 5 different people. You're right. So that's chapter 51. On to chapter 52. So the Count has a long visit with Madame Villefort. Just about as quickly as she can, she sends her stepdaughter, Valentine, and her son, Edward, out of the room. Then she has a long conversation with the Count about, of all things, poison.
So weird.
Oh, man. She is very, very interested in poison.
It's like, why?
Well,
we find out later. But,
yeah.
Anyways.
This is not a coincidence. So they talk about the various varieties of poison, the methods of transmission, ways of transmission. I think I wrote that twice. And how to gain immunity to it, which involves taking a bit of poison every day to build up immunity to it. The Count says that...
He told a story about some guy that, like, he drank a little bit of a certain...
Yeah, I think it was like
every day. So
might have been a classic hero,
tale.
Mythical hero, yeah.
Yeah.
So, and they talk about how he had gained this immunity himself. He'd taken a bit of poison all the time. And they talk about how that poison is just too much medicine. So...
It's true.
Yeah. So a lot of poisons taken in little quantities. At least this is what the Count of Monte Cristo says. A lot of poisons taken in little quantities are good for you. They revive you. So, and they also talk about how to give poison to someone without the death being traced back to poisoning. Because if you just do it wrong, apparently, the doctor can open the patient up and see, okay, that's poison. That's pretty clearly just poison.
Yeah.
So the Count knows a ton about this subject. And he is sowing seeds on fertile ground. So he is just like giving her all the information, shoving it onto her.
And she is just like,
yes, bring it. So she obviously has thoughts and plans. Oh man, and plans about the subject of poison. For, as we've already said, she is very jealous of Valentine for getting so much money. And there may be some other people she doesn't like too. Yeah.
Yeah, like old grandpa.
Old grandpa. He might be one of them.
I always wondered, I don't think it ever actually says in the book what happened to him. What made him paralyzed.
Oh, I think he had a apoplexy, a stroke.
Yeah.
It didn't tell about it specifically, but it made him mention it. That would make
sense. I was going to say, because what if she poisoned him too?
No, she didn't poison him so he'd get like this. No, that's not what she did. That'd been fun.
That would have been interesting. It would have added a lot to the book. It's like, whoa.
Yeah, so chapter 53, we're done with chapter 52. So there is a great social and gossipy stir when the Count and Ide show up at the theater.
Oh, right,
this might be sometime later, a few days later, I'm not sure. So all of the important Paris society is gathered at this theater, and representatives of all the families of the Count's enemies are there, if not the entireties of those families.
Yeah.
So the gossip, oh man, the gossip just blows. It's all over the place. They're talking about people, and they're not even paying attention to the stage. They're just looking at the other people in the theater.
Yeah, like literally.
Yeah,
which totally
it doesn't
would have
talk about
happened,
the stage at all. It doesn't talk about the play in any way.
Yeah, they probably have no clue what actually happened at the play. They were all talking about that one guy with that.
Well, they probably have seen that play before.
Yeah, they're probably literally just like, why is that super rich white guy with an Indian lady?
She's not Indian.
Oh, she was something.
Greek.
I was close.
No, very different. Indian. It's not the same as Greek. Anyway, so the Count goes out and does some socializing, and he talks to the Count de Morcerf, who is Albert's father and who is Fernand. When Ide sees him talking to her, she's actually the daughter of an Oriental royal. So her father was a leader, a royalty in the Middle East.
He was like a
pasha. I don't know if that might have been his name. I don't know if that was his title or not.
Well, it was like they were in a different country. So
it was in Greece or something. Yeah.
So
when she sees him talking to Monsieur de Morcerf, she is overcome and tells the Count that Morcerf knew her father, Ali Pasha, that was his name, and that Morcerf betrayed him and handed him over to his enemies.
He is not doing well for himself.
No, Fernand is digging his own grave at this point.
He is making enemies with people.
Yeah, so that's how Fernand got so powerful, is because of this betrayal. Huh?
He's like making enemies with people accidentally, but like also.
Well, the Count. Do you think it's an accident that the Count got Ide, of all people, who had something against Morcerf?
Yeah, no,
that's not an accident.
That was well planned. He probably already knew that.
Yeah. So Fernand made his fortune by this betrayal, and it is popularly believed that he actually helped Ali Pasha when he actually handed him over to the Turks, or his enemies. All right, so the Count asks her to tell him the whole story, and they leave. We don't get to hear the whole story right now. We will later. So that is chapter 53. Now, on to chapter 54.
Wow.
Albert de Morcerf and Lucien de Bray. Lucien de Bray would be Madame Danglars'
friend.
Yeah. They visit the Count of Monte Cristo in his house. They talk of many things together. About Madame Danglars' aggressive investing, thanks to her back-channel connection to the government offices through her relationship with Lucien de Bray, because remember, he works in the government, so he gives her all the hot tips. And how to possibly humble her a little bit, so what it would take to make her lose a bunch of money and make her stop investing so aggressively.
Yeah.
They also talk about how Albert does not want to marry Eugenie Danglars at all. Eugenie Danglars is Monsieur Danglars' daughter, and that's another proposed marriage. And he does not want to do it. He is kind of scared of her, kind of.
Yeah, I don't get what was up with that back then. People were like, "Ooh, so
yeah, marriage is different. Marriage was very different.
Let's make them get engaged."
Yeah, the daughters were property.
Yeah,
and in some ways, sons were too. Anyway,
true.
So Albert says that his mother also does not like the match. And after Debray leaves, they discuss how he and his mother could conveniently leave town so that the Count would not have to invite them to a party that he is hosting at his house in Auteuil. So, like this, he doesn't want. If he were going to invite all these people, of course he would have to invite the Morcerfs, and it would be weird if he didn't. So he's kind of suggesting that they leave town so that he has an excuse for not inviting them, because he doesn't want to upset them, or he doesn't want to upset Madame de Morcerf, who is Mercedes. And if you remember, the reason why Mercedes doesn't like this match is because she knows Danglars, she knew him, and she doesn't like him, probably. Yeah, that's what I'm going to guess.
She probably has a clue of a little bit of an idea of what happened. It was like...
yeah, he was a sleazy character. She doesn't like him.
Yeah.
Yeah, so at this party in Auteuil, which the Count is planning this far out, there will be representatives from both the Danglars families and the Villefort family. They'll be represented there. So the Count also mentions that there is a certain Italian nobleman named Major Cavalcanti who is coming to Paris to put his adult son Andrea Cavalcanti into the Count's care. Mm-hmm. And this is going to take us off into the next two chapters. which will be about the Cavalcantis, and
which is a little
see
bit of
about
a
them.
rabbit trail.
It is a little bit of a rabbit trail, but it is an important one later.
Yeah, I think like he does what 4 rabbit trails that come back to bite.
There are a lot of
Everybody.
rabbit trails because sometimes when you think something is a rabbit trail in this book, it's like, oh wait, that is not a rabbit
That's
trail.
actually like a major plot point. Like what?
It just comes back and to bite you.
Yeah,
So
hard too. Like
we're on to chapter
yeah.
55. The Count greets a man in his home who is obviously being paid to play a character named Major Cavalcanti. So this Italian major
Yeah,
is fake.
right. Yeah, he totally picks up on it too, right? Like he picks up on
the
it
count.
a
The
little
count. The Count's paying him to do it.
bit?
The Count's paying him to do it, and they have this weird, stilted conversation where the Count just kind of drops all the information that the man will need to know to play his part. So he's trying to play his part the best he can, but he can't because he doesn't know anything. So the Count's just kind of surreptitiously giving him all his information that he needs to know. It's kind of funny.
Yeah,
personally,
it's hilarious. I like that part.
So the Count tells him that his long-lost son, whose name is Andrea, is waiting in another room, and they will be reunited in a moment or two.
Yeah, a very happy reunion.
Yeah, very happy reunion. So there's all this stuff about him being a long-lost son, so because he's not, because they've never met before, but they're going to pretend that.
Yeah,
he's his long-lost son.
It's really funny. Yeah, I really like that part. The fact that they have to like improv their entire backstory the whole time, literally ripping off of each other. It's like theater, but like better. If you mess up, someone will take you out.
Well, if you mess up, you don't get the money, and they want money. They're both here for money.
You'll probably also get a little bit of a punishment too, like somebody.
Well, if they were to betray the Count or something, I don't know. The Count has ways of.
Well, I was talking about like Villefort or something like that.
Oh, for impersonating.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. That's another thing I hadn't thought of.
For impersonating a major too.
Yeah, I don't know if Major Cavalcanti was a real person though. I'm not sure. He might have been.
I'll look into it.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So chapter 56. The Count leaves the major and goes into an adjoining room and meets a good-looking young man who will be playing Andrea Cavalcanti, the major's long-lost son.
Right.
So there is another stilted conversation, but it is clear that Andrea is a good deal smarter than his father. So he picks up on his stuff a lot quicker.
Yeah.
So Andrea goes in to greet the major, thinking that they are alone. They're not. The Count is watching them through a crack in the wall. They break their characters and reveal to one another that they were both contacted, Andrea by Lord Wilmore as Sinbad the Sailor. So that's one alias using another alias as his own alias.
Yeah.
Yeah, just in case you're wanting to follow that. And the major was contacted by Abbe Busoni, who was, you remember him?
Yeah, the priest.
And they were both told that they would be paid handsomely if they reported to the Count and played these characters for him. So the Count comes in, and they revert to their roles as father and son. Monte Cristo tells them to be at his party at the Otay house, and then they leave together. So,
right. Yeah.
So he is throwing these two people into the mix with the Villefors and the Danglarses.
Yeah, and they have no clue either. Like, they don't know who they are. Because they're just random people.
Yeah.
Just two random guys that he probably knew them a little bit.
No, they didn't know him at all. They were just contacted out of the blue by these two guys.
But I mean, like, his aliases would have known them a little bit. Because
so Major Cavalcanti said that he met Lord Wilmore, or Dante's
Andre said Lord Wilmore, and then he said Busoni, right? The major? The dad was...
Oh yeah, I might have got them mixed up. I think the major met Abbe Busoni. No,
okay, and then
he met the Count and one of his guys is somewhere, but Andrea had never met him before.
All right. Well, then how did he know Lord Wilmore?
Because he got this letter from him. He had no idea who he was. He just saw that there's this money in here for me, so I'm just going to take it.
He was just like, ooh, money. Sign me up.
All right, so chapter 57. This is another covert conversation between Maximilian and Valentine.
A whole different rabbit trail.
Yep, different switching gears.
Yeah.
So the main topic of the discussion is the Count. And
is the Count, and they're both like...
Yeah, so Maximilian says that he wants to tell the Count about their relationship because he trusts the Count. And this is a kind of weird section of the book.
Yeah. Valentine.
Valentine doesn't trust the Count because he hasn't paid any attention to her or seen her plight. If he was a knowing, nice person, he would have seen that she's kind of alone
Well,
and would have helped her.
to her,
But
yes.
Maximilian says that there's this thing about the Count that he can't quite lay his finger on, but he just trusts him. He feels like all the good things that have happened to him since he has known the Count have been because of the Count.
He's not far off on that one.
Yeah, not totally.
Yeah.
So
It's pretty close.
yeah, Valentine tells him that he can't, pretty much, and Maximilian's like, fine, okay, I won't. So yeah.
Right, yeah, he wants to loop the Count and tell him, like, about this. He wanted to ask for help from the Count because of the whole Franz Diepene thing he wanted to get. He was like, let's ask the Count to see if he can,
Oh,
figure
I
this
don't
out for us
remember
to
if
help
I
us
don't remember if he said that.
do whatever.
It was because I thought he just said that it was because he just wanted to tell him about it.
Well, I think, at least for me when I was reading it, I thought he meant it like he wanted advice from him.
Okay,
like,
that makes
how
sense.
to get, like, what to do
Yeah. So that is the end of the notes
for
the chapters. That's pretty good. We're having pretty good time so far.
Yeah. So what, 8, 7, 9?
Huh?
Chapters?
10 chapters.
10.
10 chapters. So now we're going to go on to some character notes and some other things that I have prepared. So in chapter 48, I wrote that Dante says that he sold his soul to the devil to become an agent of providence or possibly God. I mean, we already talked about this a little bit, but that is just bonkers that he is even claiming this, because this is a pseudo-Christian society, as worldly as it is, but he's claiming that he is involved with the devil.
Yeah, as a Christian, that rubs me the wrong way. I don't really like Alexander Dumas for that. I'm
pretty sure he's not
First
morally
of all,
upright.
you can't become a servant of God through Satan. That just doesn't work. They're like completely opposite.
And
in every way.
he's lying at this point.
Literally, he was thrown from heaven because he was trying to be God, and God was like, "Yeah, no, that's my job. Get out of here."
Yeah, the Count is pretty clearly taking some creative liberties about what he thinks his job in the world is. So
really going for that second round of vengeance.
Yeah,
second
it
phase.
It feels like he almost believes it himself that he is an agent of God, because he believes that these people did something bad, that they did not get any punishment from God, so he is taking the place of God to give them punishment.
Yeah.
So that's his mindset currently. And
I don't like that.
I don't like that either. I don't think it's right.
No, you are going on your own path, on your own way, to get revenge on these people who you think are just absolutely awful, and you think that they should die, and that's all you. That's nothing else.
Yeah. And because,
I mean, sure, everybody's tested. Like, he was right about the whole Satan thing and the mountain thing and testing, whatever.
Yeah, he failed.
Yeah, he failed. But you failed. Okay? It's like, it's not an actual experience. You don't actually get taken up to a mountain. It's like something like...
it happens.
Like
it happens every day in our
inward.
lives.
Yeah, it's basically... And he failed.
Yeah, he failed. So,
hard.
But because he's not God, because he's trying to
Miserable.
be like God, and because he's not all powerful like God is,
It doesn't work.
it doesn't work. He's not going to be able to do what God can do.
Yeah, it will never work.
It's going to fall apart a little bit later on. We'll see.
Yeah.
But yeah, for now, that's where we're at.
Don't want to get too deep. Don't want to offend anybody.
No. So in chapter 49, I wrote that Dante uses his relationships with Ide and the Morels and Arbos to ease his hatred and the miserable life that he leads. So it says several times that he is not happy the way he's doing it, and that kind of
Obviously,
because he's trying to be God and try to get revenge. Getting revenge does not make you happy usually. So he leads a terrible life, even though he's rich and powerful. He leads this terrible life, and he uses his relationships with the Arbos, Ide, and Maximilian Morel to kind of soothe himself, so that he can continue on.
Yeah.
All right. So chapter 50, the emotion of the Arbos really, really affects him. He creates a new alias in this chapter. I already mentioned Lord Wilmore, who he will use again. We already saw that he used it again.
I have a question.
With the Cavalcantes. Yes.
Who are the Harbouts?
Arbos?
Yeah.
Julie and Emmanuel.
Okay. Right. Yeah.
Julie would be
I was
Mr. Morel's.
confused. I was like, wait,
Yeah, there's a ton of characters that you got to keep track of here.
I kind of forgot their last name.
Yep. So in chapter 52, Dantes creates another alias, a new one, completely new. This one we've never seen before.
Oh, right.
Yes.
I like this one.
Yeah.
This one is my favorite alias that he has, other than Sinbad the Sailor.
So this is when he's talking
Those two.
To Madame Villefort. He creates the alias of Abbe Adelmonte.
Yes, because he
who is a priest. I think he might be Italian. That sounds like an Italian name. But this is a chemist. This priest is a chemist who knows all about poisons, and he can make poisons, but he uses them for good things.
Yeah, he tells her everything he knows about poison, and she asks him. Right? She gets curious as to how he would know, and he's
it's like, Abbe Adelmonte.
Just Abby, whatever chemist guy. Yeah, totally didn't do all that research myself. Absolutely not.
So yeah, we have another alias. I'll give a comprehensive list in a moment.
Okay.
So in chapter 54, I wrote that Dantes is putting Monsieur Villefort and Madame Danglars together in the same house where they had their affair. And for any of you who haven't picked up, yes, Madame Danglars is the Baroness. She is the one who Villefort had the affair with.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Wow, we're already to that part.
Yeah, well, we're not quite there yet because this hasn't happened yet.
Yeah, we're pretty close though.
But we're probably in the next episode or two. We're gonna see what happens when they're in that house together and with the party. So I'm not sure what he hopes to do to get out of this, but it's surely something. It's always something with the Count of Monte Cristo. So as per the episode title, the Count is moving the pawns. And I am sure the Cavalcantis have a reason for being there.
Funniest part is his aliases are part of the pawns that he's moving, so he's literally moving.
He's moving himself around.
It's
pretty good. So chapter 55, I wrote the Dantes. There's rhyme and reason behind all the weird things that happen in this book and in this chapter. And this odd chapter about the Cavalcantis. It's a weird chapter. It's fun to read.
He goes more into depth on them, right? At some point,
at least Andrea. Andrea is the important one here.
Yeah,
if I remember correctly.
If I remember correctly, I know who that one is.
Oh yeah, that's one thing we won't reveal quite yet. We'll get there in a second.
I'm trying so hard to not say anything about it.
All right, so then chapter 56, Dantes. Yeah, he seems to be most interested in Andrea, as he is the one to stay while his father will go back to Italy. So Andrea is going to stay in Paris while his major goes back to Italy. So maybe once we figure out who Andrea is, we'll figure out why the Count is so interested in him.
Yeah.
All right. So that is all the notes that I had on the chapters. So I'm going to go through Edmond Dantes' aliases. So the Count of Monte Cristo. That's one of the aliases, of course. So there is Lord Wilmore. So this would be the Englishman too, I think. The Englishman would be Lord Wilmore in this case. There is Sinbad the Sailor, who Lord Wilmore uses as his own alias.
That is
so
funny.
It's aliases within aliases. So there's Abbe Faria, who would be the priest who went and visited Caderousse and who helped get Bertuccio out of prison. And then there's Abbe Adelmonte, who would be the poisoner. So there are two priests in there. One's a good guy, one's a weird guy.
One's a little awkward.
Yeah, it's like, poisons? Medicines? Chemistry? What? Yeah.
Poisons?
Right, so I did do a little bit of math.
Years of research on how to poison people? What? I didn't do that.
So I did some math, and I checked out the dates in this book, because there are a lot of dates in this book. It's really nice. And I figured out a few key things. So Dantes was born between 1795 and 1797. So the book starts in the year of 1815. Dantes escapes the Chateau d'If in 1829 after 14 years in prison. The second part of the book, which would kind of be when Albert and Franz go to Rome, that's kind of starting the second part of the book, second section. The second part of the book starts as Dantes, as Monte Cristo, and that starts in 1838. So he'd been traveling after he got out of the Chateau d'If. He'd been doing his thing for 9 years, but now the revenge scheme starts in 1838. So that puts Dantes somewhere between 41 and 43 years old. So he traveled for 9 years after he got out of prison and before he came to Paris. So, So Albert was wrong we talked about how Albert said that he was between about 30 or 36 years old. So he was a little low. The Count would be older than that by about
that's crazy
5 or 6 or 7 years.
He was born. 1970.
No, 1795. Yeah.
Right. 19.
So yeah, so I said
That's
we said a while ago that we wanted to say thank you to our Russian listener because we have one. I believe.
Yes. He knows how to pronounce it.
Yeah, well, let's see.
Obviously, I am not good at pronouncing stuff in a different language.
It's
least
hard.
not this phrase.
Russian is hard, but I think we figured out how to say
Hats
thank
off
you
to
very
you,
much in Russian.
Russian listener. For
Absolutely.
being able to speak that language is a really cool one.
And
really
if I
like
butcher this, I'm very, very, very sorry.
Yeah.
So I think it's Большое спасибо. Большое спасибо.
Yeah, which means
Okay.
thank you very much. We really enjoy the fact that we have a foreign listener.
Mm-hmm. One. We're not
Yeah.
very popular yet.
I don't know how many times you listen to the podcast, or if you're a returning listener, like you've listened to several episodes in a row, but whichever one, thanks for listening. It's really cool to have a foreign thing. And if you have any like tips or something, or you want us to say a phrase, feel free to comment on anything.
Yeah. Any of you who have anything you'd like
Anyone.
to tell us about?
We got our first
likes,
comment
dislikes?
just today, but
We did?
yeah, it's all right.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll have to look at it. Nice. All right, but that is about all. We're a little bit shorter today, but I think unless Gabriel, you have any closing thoughts?
Oh yeah, we were going to talk about. I thought to talk about Max and Val's relationship with the Count.
Oh, we haven't got into that yet. We're going to.
Yeah.
There's going to be more in a bit.
Because I think in the one that I'm not sure if I'm remembering it quite correctly, but I think that the Count does kind of pick up on her plight a little bit, but he doesn't want to show it. So like he knows, at least I think,
Well, he
knows a little bit of her plight, but he doesn't show it.
We should be careful not to spoil too much here because we got.
I don't want to spoil it.
This is coming. What Tobias is talking about. This is coming.
Yeah,
we're gonna get into that.
Yeah, but I think that Max does actually trust him. He's like, but he
Max does trust him.
But he's also a little sus of him too because he's like, wait a minute, this guy also seems like he's like somebody else. Like it said that it was his sister too that started to recognize his voice a little bit.
Well, I don't think Maximilian did. His sister started to recognize
His sister
him.
did, yeah,
Yes,
for sure.
Max didn't.
Yeah.
Well, Julie, at least she kind of thought that she maybe recognized him from somewhere. I don't know if she picked up that he was the Englishman.
Familiar.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then they mentioned Lord Wilmar. Yeah. And the one that I read, what made him, I think, break was they showed him the pouch.
Yes,
they kept the
yes.
pouch,
We didn't talk
and they
about
didn't
that.
use
Yes.
it.
They kept the pouch, they kept the diamond, they kept the letter from Sinbad the Sailor, and
that would have been.
They showed it to him, right? and he was like, "Oh my goodness, I'm about to fall apart." So
he was like, "I didn't know that the pouch would mean so much to you guys. Like, what is this?"
Yeah, he's overcome with
like
their
breaks.
Yeah, he breaks pretty much,
which shows that he's still a little bit not completely heart of stone yet.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he ever becomes fully fully stone.
He's pretty cold, but not quite completely cold.
His fingertips are probably cold to the touch.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah. It said his hand is icy.
Yeah.
All right, so that I want to do a little bit of housekeeping here for a second. We're thinking about getting this season done, Count of Monte Cristo, done in 13 episodes.
Yes.
Give or take. We'll see how that goes. And then we'll probably take a break over the summer, fall
but I don't
of 2025.
Yeah, I don't think it should. Let's see.
It won't be too long of a break. We'll get back into it pretty quick. But we do have our season 2 lineup ready.
Yes,
we're going to do Brave New World by Aldous Huxley.
If you've read that, feel free to give any comments on any special whatever you wanted to have included, whatnot, and we'll try our hardest to get it in there.
Mm-hmm. So we're going to do that. That's like 200 some pages, which is a lot less than 1,200. So we're also going to do three
O. Henrys.
O. Henrys, yes. Yeah. We're going to do The Ransom of Red Chief. We're going to do The Gift of the Magi.
And another one called Old Soapy.
Old Soapy. Yes. And then to cap it off, we're going to do one of Gabriel's favorites, which is called The Nose. Is that what it's called?
Yes. It's called The Nose by Nikolai Gogol.
Nikolai Gogol?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to have one shorter book and then 4 short stories.
You probably picked on the fact all of these books were written a long time ago, but
yeah,
I mean,
we're kind of oldies.
Yeah. I've mostly read classic literature, so not too well versed in modern
new stuff. Yeah,
but any suggestions would be much appreciated for further seasons or whatever.
Yep,
Yeah.
I think Brave New World was written in 36.
Yes, 32.
So that 32 is that what it was?
It was written in 1931 and then it was published in
Okay.
1932.
So that might be the newest book. I think the O.
Yeah,
Henrys were
probably.
older. I don't know when the Nose was
Yeah.
published.
Probably around the same time as O. Henry.
Okay.
Yeah, he was an old artist, author. Artist.
Artists are authors.
Oh,
are
Henry
artists.
actually, I think he was French as well.
Was he an artist? Henry wasn't.
I don't think he was an artist, but I think he was French.
Oh, he was.
Yeah,
Oh, cool.
I'm pretty sure. I'll have to look into that.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh, and tell us if you liked about the author part that we did. Because
Oh yeah, we got to do that. I think.
if you liked that, then we will continue that for
Mhm.
O. Henry, Aldous Huxley, and Nikolai Gogol.
All right.
Yeah.
I was thinking about that. That'll be fun.
Yeah. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned, and happy April Fools for those of you. Make sure you
comment, follow the show.
Yeah,
Yep.
prank somebody. Do something
Oh.
fun.
Make sure to do that too.
Yeah.
And tell us about it.
Yeah, one of my favorite pranks I ever did was, I think it was like a bucket of ice cold water or something, and I dumped it on somebody. That's really fun.
All right. That
Woke
sounds
them up.
great. I'm sure you did.
That's for sure.
All right, guys. See you next time, and
Yeah.
have a good one.